Hello, everybody. Hopefully everybody is looking at the chat room, which is probably where most of the interesting things will happen tonight. It's me. Hi. It's just me here. I will be watching the chat and calling people if we need to do that. My plan is basically just to go down the list and answer the questions as they are written, no matter no matter what the question is. And yeah, I mean it's hopefully going to be interesting. And yeah, I'm definitely open to talking about it more if somebody has something interesting to say. You can raise your hand, and if I believe you that you're not believe you that you're not going to just like troll everybody or say the N-word or something, we'll give it a shot. So this is just an experiment. If this goes well, we'll do more of these. And if it doesn't, we won't. So please help it go well. All right, so let's just get started. No one cares about the Death Guild, so get over it. Stop posting about it. Well, unfortunately, that putting that in the first question makes us talk about it, doesn't it? So mission accomplished. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a big reason we put this gathering together was just there was an ongoing discussion around server moderation and bans and whatnot, and I think that there has been a change in mood over the past year since this event happened, which I assume actually a lot of you have no idea what we're talking about. So just to briefly explain the situation, there was a guild named Death that was on the server, and back in February, January, somewhere around that time, we did a big moderation action to basically remove a bunch of them. A lot of them got 29-point bans, some of them got 30-point bans. And if you know what that means, it just means a 30-point ban is permanent and a 29-point ban is the clearest warning we can send that this is your last straw. And so, yeah, but the circumstances around that were obviously that the things that caused it to happen were happening in a private Discord. Okay, actually, I should clarify. It wasn't the reason. It wasn't the sole reason that we did what we did, right? But there was some nefarious activity in this Discord, and we were made aware of it. I mean, we were already aware of it to some degree, but basically somebody reported it. And yeah, so we made the call to get rid of the guild and to ban several of the people in it because they were just bringing down the community, and they had been for several years. Obviously, that's a subjective thing, but so anyway, just to round out that story, and we'll be talking more about this stuff generally, but the theme overall of like moderation is not to, it is to make the community a fun place to be, like make the game fun for people, right? Like we don't we're not trying to communicate what are to sorry, what's the word? There's a good word. Virtue signal, I think, is the angry way of saying it. we're just trying to make a fun community, and there were a lot of reasons why that happened. So anyway, we could probably talk about it more as the other questions come up, but that's the reason it comes up a lot, I think, is just that it was an encroachment in a way that we hadn't done before, where we were taking into account things that happened in another Discord. And so, yeah, I understand. I do understand why it's a big deal, but no one cares about it, so we'll move on. After the credit farming and mission terminal nerf, is the economy in a better place? So the big part of this is probably the credit farming, and there were a lot of bans over the year. I mean, we've actually done a few major crackdowns and several minor crackdowns over the year, related to RMT, and people basically botting multiple characters, botting mission terminals, just finding the most efficient way to grind credits, and then sell them to people, of course. And also a few cases of people who had legitimately earned credits, but sold them as they were leaving the server, and that was also not allowed. So, is the economy in a better place? Is a very I mean, it's a very subjective answer, of course. Like, we do monitor the economy, and I'll probably show you some like numbers and stats on this in a bit. But we are, as far like, the biggest part of this is monitoring for like nefarious people and that are generating millions, billions of credits that will hurt the economy. And so that's our biggest mission, is to get rid of these people, because we keep having to monitor them. Like, this is an ongoing thing that requires a lot of people's time, to monitor the related accounts and keep finding people who make new accounts after we ban them, and finding new behaviors that we of like transferring credits and trying to get through our detection. But let me tell you, we have some good detection. We have, so like, the fun thing about one of the many fun things about this game is just getting to like log so many different things and come up with clever ways of just watching what people are doing in the least creepy way possible. Where most of the time it's generally just to help with support tickets, but we we have a lot of things that were used to help with support tickets, like people buying items, deleting items, moving around, and that help us solve support ticket issues. But anyway, so let me show you a bit this. So this is one of the primary ways that we monitor the economy. Let me pull up chat. Let me see if there's anything interesting happening here. Okay, justice for Brazil. Great. So this is the last month of credit movement in the game. And what that means is basically we're tracking, all the credits that are generated and all the credits that are spent, and deleted from the game. Those are called a tap and a sync. And the tap to sync ratio is always favors tap. It's just how it goes. So that just means that there's more credits going into the game than leaving it. And so we're generally trying to help the long term of the game. We're trying to push sync upwards and tap downwards. just to make sure that inflation stays under control and whatnot. So you can also see, like, we can always see what the biggest contributors to credit generation are and what the biggest sinks are. Spinning is the game in a lot of ways. The mission system dynamic obviously just means like mission terminals. And so that is where most of the credits come from, obviously. Even after the credit nerf, which I think was part of the question, terminal mission nerf, right? Actually, does anyone remember when that patch was? It was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. If anyone has a date they can give. August. Okay, we probably don't have the data in here if it's August, but the fact that this is still such a big number shows that, like, people are still generating credits. I think a lot of people's concern with the terminal mission nerf, of course, was like new players, feeling like they had their best way of generating credits taken away from them, and that that is definitely a factor in this, and it's why we don't just like do this all the time. But there are still definitely ways to generate credits, as you can see, and generally, like I said, for the overall health of the economy, one of the biggest things we need to look at is this ratio of sink to tap. And we have it was at 25% for a while, and we've pushed up to 29 through various means. And we continue to just try and find new ways to sink credits out of the game without just feeling like it's a tax and it is not bringing anything to the game. We want it to, provide like things that you find meaningful, right? Structure maintenance, skill training. One of the more interesting ones that we did was when we did the skill training system that you can just auto buy skills in the UI, but it costs like 3 or 4 times as much, I think. And that's been a good sync. NPC vendor system is like all of the things that you buy from NPC vendors. Probably is like the heroic jewelry, and then like Galactic Fortitude vendor, battlefield vendors, stuff like that. And we do monitor those purchases as well. We've got here is my tracker of the jewelry purchases. So I can always see which ones are the most popular at a given time. As you can see, Gambler and Trapper are the hot stuff right now. That's in the past week, but we can also go back to like the last 90 days and see that it shifts quite a lot, right? Templar is a big one, and Doctor, First Responder. Yeah, so a lot of these are like the classics. And so, but this is just another one of the ways that we monitor the health of the economy. Overall, the prices have been steady, if not going down, which, I mean, in a perfect world, I think we want the prices to basically be steady. But for things that new players need to get or most will feel that they need to get, lower prices is definitely not a horrible thing, right? And so like jewelry prices are one of the things I watch the most, and that's gone from, I think, like 30 plus mil when they were first launched to now it's a big server drama when one sells for 17 million as opposed to 10 million. So, like that's gone down. Overall, I think that's good for the game. We don't want it to be, worthless, of course, but there's obviously lots of other things that generate money in heroics. So the jewelry itself being cheaper is generally good for newer players, especially. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question. If anybody does have a burning follow-up on that, feel free to raise your hand. Can a Wookiee get alopecia? I'm not going to have a funny quip about that. I don't. All right, great. Okay, I'm going to move on. Let me refresh this in case like votes are coming in. Can permanent bans stay permanent? No special treatment for some, please. So, yeah, this obviously I get where you're coming from. Can permanent bans stay permanent? First of all, there have been we were looking at it today. I think we have had maybe one or two quote unquote permaban reversals in the past year. I think maybe 3 or 4 that I can even remember, period. And but yeah, let me just answer some answer some of that more in a more detailed way. So first of all, I think there's kind of some confusion about how permanent bans work. You know, how our moderation generally works is that you as you do bad things, you are issued warnings which have points attached to them, and if you go over 30 points, and the more points you get, the longer a ban that you receive for whatever the most recent thing you did is. And if you ever go above 30 or 30 or above, you are permanently banned. But we have an appeals process that applies to anybody, and after 6 months, we do consider ban appeals, and so we look at those. And I think we have done, like I said, I think that we did one that followed that 6-month approach, and then there were a couple I think that were like reversed upon new information coming to light. But again, like I know what to go at the heart of this, right? No special treatments. I know what you guys like. I understand what it looks like to some people, and because we're all people, right? We all, I have friends, and people have, I have players that I interact with. I interact with a lot of people from the Senate, even past senators, like quite a lot, and yeah, I think that's always that's just never going to go away. Is this idea that we give special treatment to people? And yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very hard to fight against that, but it is literally something we do. Like all of the systems that we have in place for appeals, we have 3 people must review an appeal and agree to it in order for it to go through. And trust me, we have lots of people on our staff that disagree with each other quite a lot. And so it's never just like a happy power tripping conversation. I mean, speaking of the guild that shall not be named, I like that conversation alone, I think went for more than a week, back and forth about how to deal with it. And obviously it continues in some sense to this day, which I'm sure they'd be very happy to hear about. But yeah, so we have lots of processes in place to, first of all, make sure that nothing is happening without being documented. Like all of our warnings, are traced back to an individual. We don't ban people without a conversation happening basically ever. And as far as reversals go, like I said, they basically never happen. I think what the impression might be out there is that some people get back from a ban and everyone's surprised that they weren't permabanned. And we can talk some more about that later. I think there's some other questions about more specific things. But so yeah, it doesn't really happen much. Special treatment again is like just a very complicated issue. But like we're trying to be, I'm doing this because I think it's a better way of being more transparent and about this stuff. And every online community always basically inevitably drives towards tearing itself apart over server moderation drama. Like this is just the way of the internet. So we're just doing what we can to slow that down. Let's see. Okay, is that literally a hand raised? Yes. Okay. Let me find you. There should be a button that you can hit to raise your hand for what it's worth. Okay, I'm not seeing the hand, and there's 129 faces to go through. So if it comes back up, we can do that. Will Jedi Knight release anytime next year? I sure hope so. Is the answer to that. I also sure hoped so. My actual plan was to try and do it last year with Expanding Horizons, and that didn't happen. And then my plan was to do it, in the summer with a Jedi Knight mini release, and then that changed. And then my plan was to do it with this upcoming publish, and that has also changed, sadly. So the big reason for that, there's two reasons for that. One is we always think we can do more than we do. That's always the biggest one. We, this is everybody's side gig at best. We're all doing this nights and weekends. And what is Jedi Knight? Actually, okay, let me step back a little bit. Jedi Knight. So right now on the server, we have everything goes up to Jedi Padawan, which is to say that the full unlock story and process, etc. quest line takes you all the way to when you can you pass the Padawan trials and you become a Padawan, and now everyone is running around and they're the Padawans. And so, and you can in game, I don't even know how easy it is to find this screen, but there is a screen in game that is like a little vertical progression of like what rank you are. Jedi Initiate, Padawan, Knight, Guardian, Master, something like that. And so everyone's a Padawan right now. In pre-CU, there was the concept, the Force ranking system, and that was tied to there's the screenshot of it. That was tied to the rank. So you would join the Force ranking system and you'd get FRS XP for the light side or dark side and blah, 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 blah. And you'd rank up and eventually you could become a Jedi Master if you exploited just right, or you had the right friends, or you farmed well enough, and so on and so forth. And you were overpowered as shit if you got there. So we are taking a slower approach to implementing that on our server because I think that there are lots of known issues with the FRS as it was on live, and so we're doing our own thing. And we're also obviously building our own unlock and storyline and questline and all that stuff, and a bunch of unique mechanics here. So it's not just something we want to just turn on. So it anyway. I say all that to say, we've wanted to do it. I've wanted to do it. It is admittedly not something that everyone on staff is super enthusiastic about after the trauma of the initial Jedi release, because the trauma of the Jedi initial release was real. We had a lot of people, first of all, like actually doing it took goddamn forever. And for lots of reasons, like re-implementing the village took months, and it still isn't perfect, of course, but that process of re-implementing, because we really did touch like a re-implement all the quests, not necessarily from scratch, but like adapt them to the new system. And then the combat side of things was obviously a whole other ordeal, and the visibility, like all this stuff. So and after all of that, we had added an alpha class to the game, which is obviously a big shift, and not one that I thought we did that well initially. And so it took a while to balance it out, make sure the mechanics were more fair. And I mean, honestly, it is still like it has reached kind of a nice steady balance-ish right now. We're doing a couple, combat tweaks here and there to balance out Defender right now. And there's always more that we can do on all of these fronts. But yeah, Creature Handler is the real alpha class. Gotcha. The true. And well, I was very excited. Side note, I was very excited. And I was probably literally the only one that was excited. There was the what is like the tournament that that Mindova puts on like shortly after Jedi, and one of the things I was very adamant about with our Jedi implementation is that you can hybrid class, even though nobody does it. Like that needed to be a thing, and I'm very glad it didn't break the game, for the most part. And yeah, high ground tournament. Thank you. And there was I think one of the first tournaments, there was like a creature handler Jedi, and I was like, I could not have been more happy about just seeing that. So even though those professions are what they are, and it's just I just think, I mean, that is the coolest part of this game, is the crazy customization that you can do. And so anyway, all the customization you can do is also a big reason why the combat is so complicated. A big reason why even just making these defender changes is so hard is because we have to consider all the things that'll get paired with and all the overpowered builds that you can make. So will it release anytime next year? Yes. We have it on the specific roadmap of things that we are going to do next year. And it's then just going to come down to making sure we have time for it, make sure we don't get distracted, and that it is designed well and fits into the game without becoming the new center of gravity like Jedi was for the first 6 months to a year that it was out. So, and yeah, I guess the other part of the trauma, which I'll just relitigate a little bit, was just like, not just we were adding an alpha class to the game, we are adding Jedi to the game in a game which takes place in a time where Jedi don't exist. And that was also not something that certainly a lot of the players enjoyed, and plenty of the staff as well. Just like, our game was a complete game without Jedi, and we added Jedi. But it is Star Wars, and I am committed to making Jedi the best version of it that can be on our server for everybody, whether or not you like Jedi. I want to make sure that it is fun for Jedi and non-Jedi, that it adds something to the game, and that it doesn't that it is a net addition to the game, and doesn't ruin the lore, and it's like it fits into the galaxy. So there's a lot of factors that go in, and I think we have like I said, we obviously put a lot of thought into how the systems are designed. They're not perfect, but that's why it takes a long time, is we're very careful now, potentially even too careful. But like I said, after this next big release, which is coming out soon, TM, that is the next major thing that I will be working on, and after that, Nar Shaddaa. But more on that later. Why are some players treated differently than others? Some players break the rules and it's no big deal. Others break rules and they get points or banned. So obviously everyone's different. Every situation is different. We take into context a lot of things that aren't obvious from the outside, and on the flip side, a lot of the things that we do, like we do give warnings, or we even do give bans, that not everybody is open about, right? And so how it looks on the outside is, not always how it looks on the inside. But I know that this is obviously a big topic, and I mean, I read the chat. I think, probably one of the examples that most comes to mind with this is Cascade. That's the one. Yep, I saw it right away. And so what? So, we are also moving in a direction, by the way, of like more transparency about individual situations. It comes with its own trade-offs and whatnot, but I will speak a little bit more specifically about situations like this, because I think it helps to give some context. And honestly, you can. I think a lot of people have honestly already kind of pieced it together, how this goes. So anyway, Cascade and related things. This is this person. Just for context, Cass was a person. I don't know if they still play. I literally don't know. But what happened with them is they. I think the big one was that they got a schematic from a heroic that we developers did not intend to be able to be mass manufactured in factories, and they mass manufactured it, and they sold a bunch of them, not making it obvious that they were mass manufacturing them, and and how many people would characterize it scamming people, is one side of that story, and that's obviously not something that's good for the economy. It's not something that's fair to players. It's et cetera, right? And they did get an infraction, I believe, eventually, but they didn't get permabanned, I don't think. I guess not. They're still playing, and so the big factor in this that is something that you can basically attribute to me, like you can point it to me as the one who's the softy here. I think it's important that when the game tells you that you can do a thing, that we don't punish people too harshly for doing that thing, right? And so the game told them that they could manufacture things. I think this has kind of come up a few times where, this type of thing where there is a bug and somebody exploits the bug, but it's like you could look the other way and squint your eyes and imagine that they don't, that maybe it's intentional and maybe we meant to do it this way. And then anyway, so that's in those sorts of situations where there is a reasonable doubt that this was just like a completely malicious intent to scam, we don't go too harshly and we go a warning. And so in that case and many other cases, we issue warnings. And then in many cases, they still do stuff like that. And so that's when we step in, right? Kind of related is just generally like economic intervention rules that we have. There's that whole section in the support. Maybe I'll just pull it up. This section right here. Economic activity. This section can really be boiled down to don't scam people. That's what it is, right? Like it's not us trying to get our hands in too deep into the weeds and interfere with the player economy and make sure that people aren't, buying and reselling things and like just doing normal player things. Like don't ban me, I have bought things for cheap and sold them for more expensive, right? That's one of the ways that you can make money on a game, right? It's not is you just you notice, what something is worth, and if you see somebody selling it for cheap, then you can buy it. So there's a fine, or there isn't a fine line. It is a big squishy vague line in there where people where there's like, okay, you're just clearly a person who buys and sells things, or the thing that we really are watching out for there is like not buying things for cheap and selling them for market rate. It is buying things for market rate and selling them for way more, and tricking people into paying way more, right? Like that's the bigger kind of issue. And so, I don't pay close attention to every single little price drama, including, I guess, the gunship blueprint. But yeah, like that's the general idea, right? Like we are trying to prevent people from scamming people, and then that combined with Orange's naivete around giving people the benefit of the doubt means that sometimes people who might genuinely be harming the community get away without as much of a ban as somebody who is more clearly harming the community but in a more debatable way or whatever. So that's the story with that. Hopefully that answers kind of what you are going for with this question, whoever you are. Like you see, I don't even know who they were. I don't know any of the people who asked these questions. So, okay, looks like there's not any follow-up questions there. So I'll move on. If I am missing somebody in the chat, like somebody that has raised their hand or whatever, just spam it or even DM me or something, in case I miss it. So. Okay, let's see what's next. Why are we giving so much time to Nazi apologists? This is I mean, I'm going to draw a line that maybe you intended to draw, maybe you didn't intend to draw. Very similar to the top question. And so we won't give them any more time. All right, here. All right, I see a hand. Let's do this. All right. Welcome on Legends Battlefield Champion 2025.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just was gonna say that
Okay, I see what just happened. Very cute. You can come back. All right. Well, open invitation to come back on the stage whenever. All right, here we go.
I don't know if I DC or something, but I was just gonna say I think this is a question that comes up multiple times. So I just think that if it's something that multiple people bring up, maybe it's like maybe it deserves more time. I'm just saying. That's all I wanted to say.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy to circle back to this maybe near the end after we get through. My goal is to get through like the page. But given the fact that obviously a lot of upvoted things were near the top, I don't want to bore everybody that aren't interested. But I obviously am aware. I mean, a big reason I did this is that there are more things to say about it. So
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I just
yeah.
wanted to say I didn't know if it was just something you're writing off. I just wanted to bring that up. So anyway,
No, for sure.
you can
Thank you.
kick me out now, can I?
I don't even know how to move giants. Okay, great. What is your motivation to keep at it and staying positive during your traumatizing time spent as a resto developer? Great question. I ask myself that a lot, and yeah, I mean the truth is that it's harder over time to stay motivated, I think. But at the end of the day, it is still a big privilege to do this, and not something that I want to take for granted. And I can speak for other developers who sent me their answers to this question as well, which is that yeah, like it is like it is actually genuinely crazy that we have managed to find ourselves in a position where we get to work on Star Wars Galaxies. And it's and not just like, host a server, but to continue to develop the game and like make the version of the game that we all want to see and we all think should have been made. And that is crazy. And so we don't want to take that for granted, and we do pinch ourselves. And like obviously another big part of this is that I think it's more fun asterisk to develop a game than to play a game for a lot, in a lot of cases. Like I don't personally whenever I sit down to play restoration, I'm like, well, I don't know, I could just play, but part of it's like I've seen how the sausage is stuffed, but another part is like there's so many more things I want to do in this game, right? And so there are, it's really that's the motivation. Is it's like, one, we get to work on Star Wars Galaxies. Two, it is fun. Like it's fun to design things and have built them in the past. it's not necessarily as fun to build something, realize it's way more complicated than you expected, have to rethink all of your designs, show it to players. Players hate it. Everyone thinks that we're worthless and doesn't understand why we would make such a stupid change to the game, and um, then we release it and it has a lot of bugs, or it does ruin something that we didn't intend or didn't think about. Or that we realize there's some big section of people that didn't want this thing that were quiet, or that it was ruining something up there. So anyway, like all this stuff happens, and more, lots more in the inside even. I mean, topically, I would say the thing I definitely did not sign up for, nor do I want anything to do with, is all the moderation stuff, right? That was completely unforeseen, coming from the outside and having to make a bunch of calls all the time on hairy situations and with personalities, and in a community where everyone kind of knows everyone to some degree, and you end up late on a Friday night talking to hundreds of people about server moderation and why Jedi Knight isn't out and whatnot. So, but like I said, it genuinely is. It is really. It is a privilege, and we have a really big team. That is actually a big part of the answer too. Is there's a big team on the restoration staff, and they're all really great people to work with, and they're all. I am just as motivated to keep them happy as players, probably more so them actually than the players, and so they all continue to do very good work, and I want to make sure that they can continue to do good work, and so I do what I must to get there, to make sure that they can as well. Like, I think that, yeah, like we have with the Jedi release and forward, we have continued to grow the team quite heavily, and we still have several heavy hitters that are definitely unsung heroes. Like, I am, out front these days a lot more, but there are lots of people. I mean, you can see some of their names in the chat. There's a lot more people that are working behind the scenes, and completely thanklessly, they don't get to have big rooms where people are all listening to them and caring what they have to say. They just work behind the scenes, get this tickets number down all the way to 0, and then wake up the next morning and it's back at 20. They, release a feature that they worked hard on, and then people shit on it and whatever. But they are all obviously in this for the long run too, and we basically don't lose staff except to kind of just like natural real life circumstances, and occasional burnout. And I will say, like, this year has been a little bit slower for me as well. Just I think that prior to 2025 and the big Expanding Horizons release, we had a bit more of a fire under our asses about like getting the server to where we knew it could be. And now that the server is in a very healthy place, one of the downsides of that is just that there is not as much of a fire under our asses to like make sure that we survive. We're doing really well as a server. I know not everybody is always doing well. Like, certainly not all of the areas of the game are where we want them to be and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the community is growing. We're continue to be very highly recommended on, like a lot of the community places that speak about stuff. And so, yeah, we're very happy that it's going well, and we are very excited for what we all want to continue to do and add to the game. Except for Jedi. But we're still going to do that. And I appreciate all all the messages. Yeah, Fuego definitely needs more love than he gets. Fuego is the one who does quite like basically all of the content right now. We have a couple more content developers that are becoming more active too, but like and I feel extremely bad because things that Fuego has built this year months ago are still not out yet because we're trying to make a big splashy release. And so not only is he worked his ass off, but he's also not even gotten to show it to everybody yet. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming. All right, let me refresh to make sure. We're getting the highly rated question. You can keep voting these up, by the way, if you know the link. Okay. This question is related to the perception of a quote unquote big portion of the community in regards to the excessive server moderation and unfair enforcement of if a specific member or a few members of the community are largely disliked because of their participation in GCW, or PvP, GCW, or just Discord moderation, trash talk, would you ever consider banning said players? Right. So I'm actually okay. In reading this question fully, it's hard to tell what side of the argument you're coming from, but doesn't matter. We can just talk about both sides. The perception of a big portion of the community in regards to excessive server moderation and unfair enforcement of the rules. So I've talked a fair bit about unfair enforcement and like the kinds of things that go into that, into our unfair enforcement, into our enforcement, and why it might seem unfair. And it is also imperfect. We are all still humans and we make mistakes. And a stat that I had up here too is that like about 20% of our infractions get appealed successfully, or get them reversed. So that still also happens. Whether or not sometimes it's due to new information, or sometimes just because they apologize and own up to it, and we accepted an appeal. But even in those cases, for what it's worth, those in the cases of appeals, the points still stay on there, and just so for people's awareness. So the next time, oh hey Fuego, the next time that they do something, they will still have those points on their account that makes their next ban longer or whatever, right? So anyway, yeah. So that's a portion of it. Excessive server moderation. So this is honestly one of the reasons I started considering doing this was that people I trusted, multiple people I trusted, came to me and said, hey, like, I think that I'm kind of burning out because of our excessive server moderation. And so, because Resto is not safe, as they say. And so I wanted to look into it. I was like, what's going on here? Is there a story I don't know about? Is my perception of the community different than the players in this way and whatnot? So yeah, I wanted to get more people talking about it and asking questions about it, and for also us to share more information about it, because there are I think there are also a fair bit of misconceptions about like what level of moderation we are doing. There are, I mean, this is also, it's happened multiple times where people will say they got warned or banned or whatever, and they didn't. There are also just, yeah, like just people out there who, like to sit along the edges and push the boundaries and whatnot, and some of them get away with it and some of them don't. And like I said, the big goal here with moderation is just point blank to make the server a better place. It is not to police thought. It is not to make, like, it is, in my view, it is just as important to make sure that it's, it is equally important to make sure that you can come into the Discord and not just immediately get called a shitter by 15 people and not get harassed and not see a bunch of slurs and whatever, so that it's a welcoming environment to normal people. And then also for the not normal people that like to play MMOs online for a lot of their time, it is also important that those people don't feel like they have to walk on eggshells all the time, and that they're not allowed to trash talk in a game that is a PvP game on the internet, which is obviously just a mildly toxic place no matter where you go on the internet. And it is a PvP game. And so, like I said, I want to assure people that we are looking at both sides of this. I especially care a lot about, making sure that people feel like they can be themselves as long as the person they're being is not hurting, the server in some way, not hurting what it's like to be on the server, and not hurting the potential for new people to show up, right? Like, that is why moderation exists, is so that people's impressions of the server are good when they come in, and that people who are on the server feel like they can just be in part of a community and be themselves, right? So that's it. I'll share some numbers too. You can kind of deem whether or not this is excessive, but I do have some numbers about like the number of times that we have given infractions. Here, I'll just pull this up here. This is in 2025, the number of infractions we gave total. It doesn't include, the only thing it doesn't include is multi-account stuff, because there's like multiple of those every single day. And so those aren't included here. But this is everything else basically. And so you can kind of see there's warnings that go out. Oh, that's one probably shouldn't be here. Oh well. And there's 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 a small number in these categories over the past year. Hate, bigotry, and discriminatory behavior probably is a fun one. And then RMT happens a lot, which is why we've had multiple crackdowns, but they far outstrip any more language communication style moderation things. So these are the numbers. And if there's any concerns about any of those, oh wait, there we go. I'm happy to talk about them. I do see another hand from Talrain. Hello.
Uh, is the is the like point system still, does it still apply around publicly open discords that are in the server? Like how does like, because that's something that I feel like hasn't been talked about in a while. Like, does this point system still apply just as much in game and in here as it does to something that's posted? Like, let's say, for example, like in group, like in guild chat, like or in the guild recruitment channel, something like that.
Something like that. No, it doesn't. Like it's we're not going into other discords and reading everything and like getting reports about them and actioning them. Um and yeah, this is about things that happen on um yeah, on our in our communities. And the only times that like things in other discords come up is when it is more generally something we use to inform us about, like, give us more context, basically, right? Like if somebody is reported in game and somebody throws us a bunch of screenshots about something that happened in another discord, we're not going to like police the things that happen. I mean, we are not even here to police, we are here to just respond to reports. But um yeah, we're not, if people are getting rowdy in their personal discords and whatnot, uh that's that's up to them, and it's only taken into account if it would potentially color how we like if somebody is making something that's like kind of borderline, maybe that's a dog whistle racist thing, whatever. uh Maybe it's innocent or a mistake or just a joke. It is sometimes useful to know how they speak in other public channels and whatnot, but again, that's only if it's like included in a report and whatnot. But I don't think that we literally have done anything regarding external accounts or external discords apart from the thing that you are probably referring to, which was the death bans, in which a report came in about all of the content in there, and that was used in combination with the uh, the history of those players on the server, and the yeah the also just the general harm that would come to a server of um, basically rubber stamping uh, some of the most egregious types of behavior that uh, that can exist on the internet. Not universal, but like that's yeah. I know that that's controversial and it is what it is, but that's yeah. Anyway, we can talk more about that later. Again, it will, I'm sure, continue to float in and out of the conversations. But does that answer your question?
Well, I'm just wondering, like going forward, right? Like if something, if that, if a if the same, basically, what I'm trying to ask is, if the same situation happens again, where people are behaving like that in a Discord of a guild or a group or whatever that plays on the server, would all, like, and it's only it's like it's isolated to this group, to this Discord, right? Would everything, would all, like, the same like numbering system that you're talking about, like on the point system, would all that still apply like the same way as it has in the past? Would it be like a retroactive thing, or like how would that, that's kind of my question.
I have a hard time seeing a case in which a similar thing would happen again, given the types of people we have on the server and what I know about them and their infraction histories or lack thereof. And also just the volume, right? Like this wasn't just like a couple screenshots of a couple bad words or whatever. This was like years of of stuff, and combined with years of infractions and whatnot. And there aren't people that come to mind off the top of my head that would fit the same bill. So even if, this isn't like an endorsement or like saying go do this, but like we are not going. It would take an extraordinary set of circumstances to, which would basically include clear years of that type of activity and whatever so anyway, the short answer is I don't think so, but don't try anything. Don't
Right.
just
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
And in the event that situation happens and something like that happens again over time, God forbid, with another group or another guild or something, would the same system of like getting no warning, just flat, just wake up one day and you've got the 29 points, like is that something that could potentially happen again to someone if like a group acquires that sort of history over time? Or I'm just thinking like hypothetically in the future, right? Like would the no warning 29 point thing happen again?
Like I said, I can't imagine. I don't foresee it happening. But surprises can happen. And I mean, yeah, to speak frankly on that, that was certainly the thing that made me the most uncomfortable about what we, about any type of enforcement. If I think it's very important when we're enforcing things that people know that that they were breaking a rule, right? And so, in cases where a new rule is added at the same time as something like that is quantitatively unfair, but that doesn't mean that it's ultimately, again, we're just trying to make the server comfortable. So yeah, like
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
I don't imagine it would happen, but I could imagine extreme things that I wouldn't predict to happen to actually have happened, and then who knows. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because I know that there's like a lot of history, because I know like you guys were planning that whole thing for like a year leading up to it.
Not sure what you mean, but
Oh, well, I'm just talking about like here, one second, I got it right here. We're talking about this right here. Let me ping you. I'm talking about that, like I know that like you were saying, like there's a lot of history, so like there's like all this build up to something like that. So like there would need to be all this amount of build up over like a year, 2 years, or something like that for something of that level to happen. Is kind of what you're saying, right?
yeah, I mean, I think yeah, I remember this conversation that you helpfully shared, and yeah, that was in regards to a conversation that happened at that time, which was yeah, 2 years ago, basically.
Okay.
And we didn't do anything with it like that. Actually, that conversation died there. But I know that this is all looks weird on the outside, and yeah, no, genuinely, like we had, yeah,
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
not sitting behind our desks and trying, twiddling our thumbs and trying to think of ways to get rid of the people we don't like. If we were trying to get rid of the people we don't like, we would just get rid of them.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, fair enough. I'm sorry for taking all your time. I appreciate you talking. So I'll let you go.
All right.
Get back to it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so just kind of address the final part of this question, and hopefully we can move on. If a specific member or a few members of the community are largely disliked because of their participation, blah, 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 would we ever consider banning some players? No, not for just being disliked. There's always going to be a biggest asshole on the server, and that doesn't mean that the biggest asshole on the server is breaking our rules. Because even if we get rid of them, then somebody else would be the biggest asshole on the server. But obviously, the line there is basically if they're not just disliked, but they are harming the community, in some way, then there would likely be a thing that they are breaking the rules to do that. And if not, we would warn them. And because that's there's always the rule of you got to listen to staff if they tell you to cut it out. And so that would be how we would deal with a situation like that. All right, we'll try and go through this one quickly. Why do bigots feel entitled to play on Resto? They showed who they are and they can deal with the consequences. Obviously, I don't really have an answer to why other people do what they do. And yeah, I mean, I think that the only answer I can give there is that lots of people feel like they want to play this game, and that we, as a community of volunteers, don't have any authority over them. You know, we can't infringe on their free speech and whatever. And I mean, yeah, they are wrong in that. We are here to prop up a community that we are proud of and we think is a fun place to be. And so that's yeah. If they don't, and part of this, the goal of this tonight is also to just make clear our positions on things. And if people don't like how we do things or don't like our positions on things, they don't have to be here. So yeah, hopefully that clears that up. Yes, I did refuse to rehearse any of this. I have a couple notes which I'll refer to every now and then, but this is also just off the top of my head. I know there are many planned changes being made for player cities coming up. Borderlines, lights, not counting in the city deco, etc. What other planned changes can we look forward to, and what is the timetable? So, yeah, player cities are like a core feature of Star Wars Galaxies. I see a hand. Let me get through some of this. Could you? Yeah, I guess I wouldn't leave it open. I'll just try and remember to get back to this. But yeah, like it's like obviously one of the things that makes Star Wars Galaxies, and so there's always a lot of things we want to do with it, and stuff we've teased doing with it, like outdoor decorations and things like that. So yeah, other changes that are planned or hopeful about are outdoor decorations in some form. There's a few different ways that we can implement that, and we're kind of experimenting with those. There are more city tiers, TIERS tiers, where that we're talking about new things that you can unlock with higher ranks, and lots of cool things that we can do there. Other kinds of specializations that people can do with their cities, and that's a big one. We did tease on the roadmap. What was it like? Where is it? Oh, it's here, isn't it? The city sieges. This is a feature we were talking about where you could kind of add things to your city to make it more of a centerpiece of the Galactic Civil War, and in kind of exploring ways to do that and realizing some technical challenges. I think the shape of that has changed a little bit, sadly, but one of the things that we are doing and are like a lot of it is done is improving city integration into the Galactic Civil War generally, and especially having a base, a special base, factional base that can only go in cities, which will give unique bonuses and only for like aligned cities that have enough ranking. So that's something you can look forward to. And timeline scattered. So like I said, GCW stuff is coming soon. Outdoor deco, TBD. No ETAs there at all. And the additional city ranks is something that we have a developer on that they work on when they have time. And so we're definitely planning that, but I don't want to commit them to any timeline either. So, as soon as we can. Okay, so there were a couple hands. Let me just scroll through and sure there's nothing I need to. Yeah, okay. I saw Soul something's hand first, so I'm going to do that first, and then we can go to Celsi. I don't even know how you say the name. Celsi. But hello. First up.
Hey, so just to add a bit to this, there was a mayor feedback form in my first term that went through that is still being getting ready to be posted. So for some of the things that are mentioned in this post, they were on the mayor feedback form, so it is on its way. Please just bear with. The devs are working hard on that feedback that the 27 or whatever mayors we had give feedback on. Another one of the items here, the borderlines, that's a PV, so that will be however long PV is, right? So yeah, stuff is coming for cities. You just gotta sit tight. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add to it. Thank you, Orange.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, good reminder of things. I don't even have complete visibility on everything that's always happening either. So thanks for that reminder. Okay, let's move on. Has there been any further consideration on dual spec for combat professions? Barely, unfortunately. It's still something I want to do, but the thinking we realized there were obviously it was a lot more complicated of a problem than we initially dreamed of. This is always how it goes. And mostly in the sense of creating negative externalities is the word. Unintentional side effects, basically, of allowing lots of people to have more combat specs. It's not even the combat specs that is the big worry. It's really just everything else. It's like we definitely don't want to create a situation which has plagued lots of other servers where like everybody has their own suite of crafters, and it's like very, very, in a sandbox game, trying to tightly control how people do certain things is like extremely hard. So the difficulty in doing it, combined with it being a mildly controversial feature, there were a lot of people that pushed back on it. What that did is it put it into the category of things that Orange really wants to do, but there's lots of things that Orange wants to do, and there's lots of things that Orange wants to do that are less controversial and less difficult. And so that is why it has not happened yet, and may bubble up in priority again. And again, like it was also designed to help kind of solve a couple different problems, and those problems still exist. So, yeah, I can imagine it coming back up. But if it sounds like there's like confusion around dual spec, I guess I should have actually clarified this up front. What I believe this person's talking about, and what I just talked about, is is not like a dual wielding or like multi-profession thing. It's like the ability to have like multiple templates on one character that you swap between, basically. So the bare minimum version of this would just be that you like have one skill tree build, and then you can like save that and swap to another one that you already have built on the same character. And a more advanced version that would be like it also saves your gear that you were wearing, so you could literally just like log on, click a button, similar to a character selection but within the same character, and play a different spec depending on what was needed. But like I said, lots of complications there. So it is sadly not at the top of our list anymore. So the deadline for this might just be my voice going out, but we'll try and get through a few more of these. ETA and what can we expect regarding housing city storyteller updates? I mean, I think I kind of just talked about that as well. So I'm gonna just skip that one. Apologies if that was a mistake, but yeah. And this is a spicy one. We definitely need to get to this one. What would you say to PvE players who feel neglected, seeing as PvP appears to get more attention from the development staff? Example being 3 or 4 new lightsaber hilts locked behind PvP in the last drop, as opposed to 1 lightsaber crystal on Rankir statue in the Blackwing Corvette. I mean, I do want to talk about this. Sorry, everyone that wants you to skip. I want to talk about this. This is a topic of conversation, not just among the players, but among the developers. We obviously, just to be clear, it is not our goal to neglect PvEers, nor is it our goal to neglect PvPers. And PvPers do bitch more. And so maybe they get more of our ears because they are bitching more. But a goal of mine, I'll just say, I'll speak for myself right now. First of all, hi, I'm Orange. I took over lead developer a couple years ago now, and there's a big blog post if you want to hear me talk even more than I have tonight for some godforsaken reason. And in it, I kind of laid out what my goals for the server were and like my vision, quote unquote, for everything. And one of the biggest ones is simply the phrase, let people play how they want to play. This is a big game. It's a big tent game. Lots of different people play that have lots of different interests, obviously, as we're even just shown in this question. And so a big theme actually of the upcoming update is making more things for more types of people to do in the game, which is extremely vague. But in practice, what this really means is that like DCW is expanding to incorporate more types of content, not just even PvE, but crafting and more social elements, entertaining, etc. And so that's a big important thing to me. There are also lots of PvP things coming in this update, and I mean, I will also just kind of address one elephant in the room. I mean, I doubt anyone really knew me on live in here, but I am a big PvPer, or was. That was always the thing I really cared most about in the game. Oh, I see Aussie typing. Aussie knew me on live. And and so that's one of the things I'm most interested in. Weezing sign amp say hi. Aw, that's my old guild. And secret, yeah, fair enough. Secret ADC doesn't want to play CU because of global cooldowns. Fair enough. I'm not Zayas Kun, but he did make a video about me. And so anyway, yeah, I like PvP. I think PvP is interesting. I think PvP is one of the best things you can do in Star Wars Galaxies because it is it's just like the perfect thing to do in a sandbox game, in my view, which is to say it's like really community driven. It's really rewarding when it's sandboxy. It's like there's just so many ways that you can try and break the game and have fun. Just in making theory crafting builds and open world PvP and everything else. So I think about it a lot because it's my favorite part of the game. But I am very, especially, I mean, I'll even just say, the longer I've worked here, there are like, okay, enough PvP. They're always going to be a little bit unhappy, maybe a little bit noisier than the rest of the people. So we need to make sure to balance it out as much as we can. I mean, I even just went through a whole thing with Jedi Defender where basically the entire conversation was me trying to advocate for the PvE side of things, and much to other people's annoyance, and making sure that it worked in both PvE and PvP. So anyway, I say all that to say, what would I say to PvE players who feel neglected, seeing as how PvP gets more attention? First, yeah, it might get more attention, or it might be a perception thing, but it definitely gets a lot of noise and whatnot. But PvE is obviously like the game, and it's like every other aspect of the game, which is most of the game. And so we have content developers on staff who work on PvE all the time. And PvP actually doesn't require that much work in as far as like combat balancing, and there's like 2 or 3 pieces of PvP content in the entire game compared to every other feature. So what would I say? I would say hang tight. There are more things coming soon. And it is very important to me personally to make sure that everyone has things to do in this game and doesn't feel forced to do things they don't want to do. They don't want to PvE, they don't want to PvP. Fine. So we just need to make it as easy as possible to have a fun game, have enough stuff to do, have a good sandbox, be able to participate in the community and the GCW as a PvEer, and as a PvPer, that you shouldn't necessarily have to run heroics, and you shouldn't have to spin mission terminals in order to get payouts. Let me read this Aconite comment. Tell us about how we decide where rewards get allocated and why it might seem like we're adding rewards to only PvP. Sure, Aconite, great question. We we made a call a little bit ago to make most things in the game tradable. And so what that also means is that we want to, the easy version of PvP payouts is what we already kind of have, which is lots of tokens and vendors and things that you can buy off of and sell to other people. But and so that is like a big thing that we do is just make sure that there are vendors stocked up for PvPers. And so like the new lightsabers, I mean, the lightsabers specifically, the reason we just randomly added a bunch of new lightsaber hilts to the PvP vendor is actually just because they were already there and they were just turned off. They were added there by SOE. And so I just turned them on because I had forgotten to do that. And we had already designed them. And so the Senator Gruick reminded me to do that. And so I did it. And so that's why that happened. That wasn't really, and it was timely with the Petronaki tournament because everyone's getting battlefield tokens. And so if you already have everything you want off the vendor, but you now have all these tokens, well, now you have something new to spend. So that's why that specifically happened. And the Petronaki tournament, of course, itself was a PvP event. So I understand. But yeah, there's lots of other, the majority of our server-wide events are PvE. They used to be more PvP centered back in the day, but yeah, I don't run them anymore. So, and yeah, and there's lots of more PvE coming soon. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question for you. This is a quickie, kind of. Has there been any discussion on adjusting loot tables to decrease or remove item drops that are no longer relevant due to power creep? Action pucks. So, broadly, we're not trying to go and revisit all of the content that is like semi-recent. Like heroic loot tables would not expect drastic overhauls on that, just because we have other things to do. And honestly, like loot tables are the most traumatic thing that a developer can have to deal with. And people are very, very passionate about their loot tables and what comes off of them and whether or not we wasted their time. And if we're, if this deserves to be in this mode and whatnot and whatever. So not a fun activity, but obviously still important. And but I think this question is talking more about like older content and things that are literally just irrelevant, like single drops from single spawns. So I do have an answer from Fuego himself, the hero, who did want to say that even action pucks, he specifically talked about action pucks and adding mind to them as a way to maybe help make them more useful. And generally, yeah, so it is a balance. We don't want to just keep reiterating on the same old content over and over. There are other things that we want to add to the game, and those generally take priority, but we do try and balance it with easy wins, and things like, just like minor refreshes of old content or cleaning up loot. Another adjustment to the loot table we did for economy reasons was I'm actually going to forget what it was, but there was some like tightly, there was like something we added that was needed for armor a couple years ago, that like we added to the loot tables to help make that demand match the supply better. And so that's the kind of thing we do. But interwoven, thank you. So that's That's right. Usually no, but in special cases, yes. Any word on possible tier 5 rewards? Yes. 2026. That is an ETA for you. But that's all. That's all you get. Sorry. Storage, inventory, click multiple items in bag, highlight, delete. This is where you can just watch the chat. This is how it's going to go. I'm going to say, yeah, we could do that. That sounds, like an interesting problem. It's harder than you'd expect in this clunky UI. And then Aconite is going to say, oh, yeah, that's easy. I'll do it. And then he might do it. I don't know. We'll see. But there are generally a lot of there are generally a lot of things that we want to do with the UI, and I've personally gotten more interested and better at working in the UI, and just the client stuff in general. So, like in my real life, I'm like a web developer. I do a lot of like front end stuff a lot of time. Actually, not so much these days, but that's where I like got my feet wet. So, anyway, I'm really interested in UI refresh stuff, but again, it's just always one of those things that needs to bubble up in priority. And right now, I'm most needed on getting the GCW stuff out the door, but and then Jedi Knight, which also came up earlier. But yeah, like I definitely want to do it. And when I get tired of one of those things, I will help with that. And other than that, Aconite is the hero that we all deserve. I don't what the quote. Anyway, yeah. Shared account housing lots. I feel like I've seen this a few times in the chat. It actually is a relatively active conversation still. On our side, it is a very delicate thing to do, but generally still something we want to do. No ETAs, sorry, but it does come up more frequently than most other of our things that we want to do. Okay, would you consider unbanning former death members individually, assuming they aren't already unbanned? Not without new information, I guess. I mean, unlikely. But I mean, yeah, there are most of them weren't banned, but then a few of them got more points, which then did push them over to a ban. So yeah, like it is what it is. It's not a blanket rule that people from that guild can't play. It's case by case. So yeah. Okay, refreshed, and now things have gone completely different orders. Let me look through here. Please bring back re-enable anniversary goggles, please. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I have a quote here. Pretty sure it's just going to say 2026. Oh, no, it's even sooner. Anniversary goggles will be added to the Galactic Fortitude vendor very soon. There's your answer. Okay, looks like we're here now. Has the banning of several death members and the disbanding of their guild had the intended effect on the community? This is obviously a highly subjective question. And I mean, Yes. No. We didn't like go in with trying to shape the community in some specific way. It is more or less just yeah. So anyway, I don't really have a good answer to that other than we it is, I think one of the things that has happened in the meantime is that there are a lot of more people that are on the server now than there were in the past, and that a wider diversity of people in PvP, much to people's chagrin or whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, I think one of the effects of moderation in general is to make sure that more people can feel like they can play. And yeah, so we just have to keep making sure we do that. Would you consider Discord muting people that don't play the game and just post cringe? Yes, that is one of our rules, kind of. We'll go ahead and check the tape on that. So, where is it? It's right here. One of our rules is this one, which we added recently. And your long-term participation must not bring down morale, blah, blah, blah. And this includes, for example, disengagement from the game while continuing to stir conflict or antagonize others still playing. So the shape of the thing that we would take action on this would be not necessarily just like posting cringe, but more, if somebody didn't play, but they kept talking about why they don't play or why the game is bad or why anybody who does play is stupid or, like obviously I don't want to be overly prescriptive on this. It's generally just like if you're not contributing to the community in a positive way and you're, and you're not playing, then there's obviously not much reason we think that you need to be here. And so, yeah, that's the kind of thing we might Discord mute. But again, like not that part of the new rule was also that to allow us to do things like Discord mute without banning people. Because if you're not doing anything in game, if you're just kind of being annoying in one communication channel, then we can mute you and we can talk about why we muted you. And if you want to keep doing the things that made us mute you, then you can stay muted. But yeah, like it's generally just, like you said, to help make things feel better without feeling too strict either. So but I wouldn't want to put a blanket rule that says like if you don't play for X amount of time, you're, because there's people who for every, okay, I'm not going to use names, but for every person who doesn't play the game that posts cringe, there's also somebody who used to play the game and posts helpful things about the game they used to play and don't have time for anymore. So, yeah. All right, this is probably the last one, which is highly specific. Change the scoundrel set to all weapon accuracy while moving and last ditch duration increase. 5-piece should be a ranged KD and a melee KD. Smuggler is not a pistol exclusive tree. Okay, I actually just need to remind myself what the scoundrel set does. Scoundrel set, off the top of my head, is the crowd control one, right? It's the one that gives pistol whip. And I don't remember what stats it gives. And Yeah. So anyway, 5P should be a ranged KD and melee KD. Yeah, like the thing I like about the Scoundrel set is that it is pistol accuracy or moving. Concussion shot cooldown, that probably does need a change. Because it's I mean it's not as relevant, I don't think. I think concussion shot itself could use a little bit of love in order to help. But yes, as Ozzy pointed out, Pistol Whip is my favorite ability, and you're never taking it away from me. And I will make it relevant again. Mark my words. So, even though it is also one of the most toxic abilities in the game. So, anyway, yeah. Okay, I'll refresh the page in case anything else kind of came up over the edge. No, it did not. Okay, so yeah, that's all. It has been almost 2 hours. That's all the things the questions I'm going to get to tonight. If there are any burning live questions that we want to take, okay, I saw. Wait, okay. Sorry. I did not, in fact, plan. Okay, I see one request. Okay, I see one. Okay, I'm going to invite Rylor to the stage.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
So previously, after the last Petrodaki ended, you had mentioned in your post that you had stats to share with us. And I was wondering, is there a reason those weren't shared? Or did we forget? Or what's going on with that?
I mean, the full gory behind the scenes on that was that I was told, hey, just shut down the event and I'll post some stats tomorrow. And then I did that, but then my post got a lot more attention and it felt anticlimactic to make another post about stats. But we still, I think, have some stats and we can share them, but like depending on what kind of stats you want. I mean, yeah, what kind of stats are you interested in?
Well, I'm well aware it's not about winning. It's not about, boosting people's ego. I would just be curious on just the overall feel of the event, because I was on Team Reek and it really felt like this was one of the best Petronakis as far as participation, people dying constantly. And I would like to see if you guys felt the same way.
Yeah, well, it definitely was the biggest in terms of participation. Every time we have more people than the last, and every time we have more kills than the last, or deaths, I should say. So, yeah, that's definitely true. And yeah, I think it would be interesting to share things like, the chart of like how many deaths there were per day, which we could do. Actually, you know what? Okay, here. Can somebody send me the exact dates of the Petronaki tournament just in chat? And I actually have a little chart I can show. The infamous PvP graph. Uh, 11/7 to 11/16. That sounds kind of right. So I don't know, maybe this is interesting. This is how many deaths there were kind of per hour over the duration of the tournament. So as you can see, obviously the weekends were biggest. The initial couple days were huge spikes, and then it kind of waned near the end, but had a nice little spike at the end. And this is like, yeah, I think this is deaths. So the peak deaths within this looks like it's 3-hour blocks. So in a 3-hour block, there were 2,200 deaths at the first day, and 2,200 the second day, and 2,000 on the last day. So there's an interesting stat. We could probably share some more. I know Elfie has some stuff, so we can try and pull it up.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Mhm. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I see one hand.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. I guess kind of a, I don't want to sound like I'm just bitching, but a gripe against like I guess you could say like visibility or Screwick when I need them. Things like force abilities or things that pop up on your buff screen. Is there any way we could, or is there a reason as to why most people can see these things and report you for these things? Like, how does someone know if you're using something like let me get an example here, like a force resist states or force armor, unless they see you actively like using it, like in public. But if you use it like in private and then come out into the world and then everyone can see it, is there like a way for only people who are force sensitive to be able to see these abilities and then report you? Or I'm just trying to understand the reason behind the visibility thing.
I'm trying to remember. I know there are some buffs that work that way, but I also thought there were some that don't. So yeah, off the top of my head, I don't quite remember. The ones that we definitely wanted to have visible were like, the obvious ones like Force Run. Like I'm pretty sure the meditate buffs don't get visibility, as an example. But the combat related ones, I think we just erred on the side of like, if it is giving you a benefit, then it is something that's that's something that is you are getting a benefit as a Jedi, and therefore the balance is that you are getting visibility. And so I'm happy to look over that list again too. I'm not as married to having some kind of dot resist sort of thing that like, oh my god, that's going to break the game if there's no visibility on that. But generally that's the idea, is like it's a balance thing and it's just a thematic thing. But we also explicitly exclude things that would just make the game unfun if they all counted. So like cloaks, right? Like we didn't make cloaks give visibility, even though they might have even given visibility. No, yeah. I don't remember if they gave visibility in like pre-CU version of visibility or whatever, but that might have just been lightsabers. But anyway, that's the thinking. If there's anything awkward, then we can, throw it to a senator.
Yeah, that was like exactly what Lost just said in the chat. Like, if you go out in public, like you're just screwed because you can't have any force abilities up, but God forbid you might be in the boards. Like, you can't just pop all your buffs at once, because at that point you've lost like maybe like, I don't know, a good portion of your force bar, and you're like, all right, well now it's definitely not in my favor.
Well, the Guardian set changes. Well, maybe you want to pick up that set because it's gonna have the ability to keep you alive if you get ganked. It's gonna pop avoiding cap automatically for you if you do get jumped and you don't have any buffs up, and then it'll give you some chance to recoup.
That is nice. All right, sorry, that was my grip. Thank you for listening.
Sure. Okay. Okay, I think. Wait, actually, did I see one more hand? There is one more hand. Okay, this is going to be the last one. And other than that, thank you for being here. But Yermies. Okay, I sent an invite to Yermies. I don't know if you're still there.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, sorry about I had the pop out screen. I was just gonna ask, how do you think gunships have affected the game? And like, do you think they still align with the original goals why they were put in, or do you think they have come to like affect other areas of the game in a negative manner?
Good question. I think this is one that has come up a couple times. Okay, first of all, is it doing what we wanted for the game? We always knew that like another ITV is always gonna, especially a mobile one, is always gonna cause new avenues of degeneracy, and so we tried to do some things to help with that, but there's always ways to. Okay, for anyone who's not familiar, by the way, the gunship is the highest, like one of the hardest to get items in the game, just due to it's a thing that you have to get 4 different rare items to get, and those items come from like certain high-end vendors and legendary loot chests and all this stuff. So it's like kind of an end game, super end game item, and it makes you a gunship vehicle that also acts as an ITV when you're inside for you and your group. So the goal with it was to, I mean, the biggest thing is just to make it cool and make it worthwhile of all of the effort that goes into it, because it's one of the coolest looking vehicles in the game. So, and we always said it was going to be something cool. So what we landed on was ITV. We are making some changes soon. I think they're already on test center potentially, to make it so you can't use it too recently after combat. And yeah, I mean, other than that, honestly, I don't probably have enough details on all of the other ways that it is either good or bad. So do you have any other kind of specific questions on that?
No, I was just thinking like in terms of like quality of life, getting things to become too easy and not interacting with the world around, kind of like how it's been a social game up until like then. And then also, yeah, like kind of like with bounty hunting and how it really impacts that point of the game where you have no opportunities to even engage with the target because of these kind of tools that are around.
Right. Yeah, no, totally fair. I mean, the first thing you said is really interesting about how it makes it almost too easy to get around and like makes it less of a kind of social hub thing. That is definitely a negative impact of ITVs in general. Like the gunship being kind of like the ultimate ITV is. I'm sure Aconite's going to have lots of beautiful rants to say about this. I mean, there's even a few people. One of the Easter eggs of the server is you can see that we initially had all ITVs disabled on the entire server, intentionally, and then we added it as a credit sync later, and yeah, it is just one of those things. It's like it breaks immersion, but it's huge quality of life, and that Star Wars Galaxies is like one of the most interesting case studies in this where, we used to be, there were 10-minute shuttle timers, and like it literally intentionally designed the game to create those like moments of like friction and waiting, just so that people would run into each other and talk, and it would feel like a social game more. And over time, quality of life creep happens, and I think that has just happened here as well. So it is part of the game, for better or worse, but we can keep tweaking it. Like I said, we're trying to shore up, especially the things like around bounty hunters and just being able to escape carte blanche. But they're also not easy to get, so it does. Ideally, it's not something that everybody has access to forever. If it turns out that they are too easy to get, then we will probably have to make them less powerful and less impactful. Let that have whatever impact on the market it will. But it's obviously not my goal to just like make it worse, unless it's just like hurting the game. Just like moderation, we don't want to just ban people. It's just about keeping the game fun and appealing for everybody. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I appreciate that. Appreciate your time as well.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your questions. And Aconite has just posted a feedback form where you can share how you thought it went. I don't actually know what's on the form, but go check out the form and let us know if we want to make any changes or just how it went. And hopefully this was useful for everybody, and wasn't too traumatic for me, but we'll see. So anyway, thank you, everybody.